The morning sun rose over Seoul, casting a warm glow on the Daesung Orphanage. It was the year 2157, 30 years since Earth had joined the Galactic Federation. For most people, life had improved since first contact. New medicines cured old diseases. New technology made work easier. Humans had proven themselves valuable members of the galactic community. Director Kim Dae-ho stood in the courtyard of the orphanage, watching the children play. At 63 years old, his hair had turned gray, but his back remained straight, from his years in the military. He had traded his uniform for simple clothes 15 years ago, choosing to care for children who had lost their parents during the early, sometimes tense meetings between humans and aliens. "Director Kim, look how high I can go," shouted a small boy on the swing set. Kim smiled and waved. "Very good, Bekto. Hold tight." The orphanage housed 63 children ranging from 5 to 16 years old. Today, 7 of the older children were away on a field trip to the new Space Technology Museum downtown. Kim checked his watch. They would return in about 3 hours. Inside the main building, cooks prepared lunch. Teachers readied afternoon lessons. It was an ordinary Tuesday in every way, until it wasn't. Kim first noticed the shadow moving across the ground. Looking up, he saw 3 sleek silver ships cutting through the clouds. Each bore the unmistakable emblem of the Galactic consul, a spiral of stars with a red center. Federation ships were not unusual in Earth's skies these days, but they never flew this low over cities. Something was wrong. "Children, inside now," Kim shouted, his old military instincts kicking in. The children looked up, some pointing at the ships with excitement rather than fear. They had grown up in a world where aliens were normal. They didn't understand the look of alarm on Director Kim's face. The ship stopped directly above the orphanage. A soft blue light began to glow beneath each vessel. Kim ran toward the nearest group of children, waving his arms. "Run! Get away from the building." The blue light brightened, then pulsed. There was no sound at first, just a wave of energy that made the air shimmer. Then came the explosion. The main building of the Daesung Orphanage erupted in flames. Walls collapsed. Windows shattered. Children screamed. Kim ran as hard as he could, reaching for a little girl frozen in fear. He almost touched her hand when the second pulse hit. The light enveloped everything. The children, the playground, Director Kim. All of it turned to ash in seconds. Where the Daesung Orphanage had stood for 22 years, there was nothing but a smoking crater. Han Ji-won sat in his small office at the Earth Federation Embassy, translating documents. At 42, he looked like any other government worker. Neat clothes, tidy short hair, glasses perched on his nose. No one would guess he had once been part of Unit 9, a secret military team trained for missions that officially never happened. His computer screen flashed with a news alert. Han clicked on it and felt his blood turn cold. Breaking news. Daesung Orphanage destroyed in attack. All present feared dead. Galactic consul ships identified at scene. Han stood so quickly his chair fell backward. The Daesung Orphanage. He had visited there just last week. A friend from his old unit had asked him to deliver some books and games. He grabbed his coat and ran out, ignoring calls from co-workers. By the time Han reached the site, emergency teams had set up barriers around the smoking crater. Federation officials in their distinctive purple uniforms were already there, holding scanning equipment and arguing with Earth security forces. Han showed his embassy ID to pass through the police line. The smell hit him first. Burned materials, but also something else he remembered from battlefields. He pushed the thought away. "Who's in charge here?" he asked a nearby officer. "Captain Park over there." The officer pointed to a woman giving orders near the edge of the crater. Han approached her. "Captain," Han Ji-won from the embassy. "What happened?" Captain Park looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. 3 consul ships appeared and fired directly at the orphanage. No warning, no communication, they fired and left. Survivors? None here. But 7 children were on a field trip. They're the only ones left. She pointed to an emergency vehicle where children sat wrapped in blankets, faces blank with shock. Han walked over slowly, trying to control his rage. 7 children, out of 63, plus the staff, all gone. One of the Federation officials approached Han, a tall being with greenish skin and 4 eyes. "This is regrettable but necessary," the alien said in precise English. Han turned. "Necessary?" "We have information that this facility was developing biological weapons designed to target non-human Federation species," the official said. "It was an orphanage," Han said quietly. "A cover. We have evidence." "It was an orphanage," Han repeated. His voice remained soft, but something in his tone made the Federation official step back. "An investigation team is coming. They will explain everything." The official moved away quickly. Han approached the 7 surviving children. They looked up at him with empty eyes. "Hello," he said gently. "My name is Han." The oldest boy, maybe 16, spoke. "I'm Yoon Bin. These are the others. Choi Tai, Park Sun Mi, the twins Lee Jun and Lee Min, Kang Hana, and little Baek Do." Each child nodded slightly when named, except for the little girl, Hana, who stared at the ground. "What
will happen to us now?"
asked Sunmi, a girl about 12 years old with short black hair. Han looked around at the Federation officials taking readings, at the Earth security forces keeping angry citizens back, at the news drones hovering overhead. "You'll come with me for now," he decided. "I have space," Captain Park overheard. "Sir, there are procedures." Han showed her something on his embassy ID that made her eyes widen. She nodded quickly. "I'll handle the paperwork." Han's apartment was not large, but he quickly arranged sleeping spaces in the living room for the children. They moved like ghosts, following instructions without speaking much. After they ate a simple meal, the youngest boy, Baek Do, finally asked the question. "Why did they kill everyone?" Han knelt to look the 5-year-old in the eyes. "They said they had a reason, but there is never a good reason to kill children." "What will happen now?" asked Tae, the 14-year-old who barely touched his food. Han looked at each child in turn. "First we rest. Then tomorrow we begin to learn the truth." That night, after the children finally slept, Han sat at his secure computer. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard, sending messages to people whose names didn't appear in any government database. People from his old life. The final message was simple. Unit 9, the Baba Yaga Protocol, authorization requested. The response came just minutes later. Authorization granted. Assets available. Waiting instructions. Han looked at the sleeping children, their faces troubled even in sleep. The Federation had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked the most vulnerable humans, thinking there would be no serious response. They didn't understand Earth's history, Earth's myths, Earth's rage. They were about to learn about Baba Yaga, the witch who could be the protector of children or the most terrible monster, depending on who you were. And these children would be part of it. The next morning, Han Ji-won woke before the children. He moved quietly through his apartment, preparing a simple breakfast of rice, eggs, and fruit. As he worked, he watched the news on a small screen on the kitchen counter. A woman with a serious face spoke to the camera. 3 days after the destruction of the Daesang Orphanage, Federation investigators claim to have found evidence of illegal biological research. Earth government officials strongly deny these claims. Protests have broken out at Federation offices worldwide. Han turned off the screen when he heard movement from the living room. The oldest boy, Yoon Bin, stood in the doorway. His eyes were red from crying or lack of sleep, maybe both. "Good morning," Han said. "Are the others awake?" Yoon Bin nodded. Tae and Sunmi are helping the little ones wash up. Han noticed how the 16-year-old had already taken on the role of looking after the younger children. "You're good with them," he said. "Director Kim taught us to take care of each other," Yoon Bin replied, his voice breaking slightly at the mention of the dead director. The other children soon joined them in the kitchen. The twins, Lee Jun and Lee Min, stayed, close together. Choi Tai, the 14-year-old, kept an eye on little Baek Do. Park Sun Mi helped set the table. Only 8-year-old Kang Hana remained apart, sitting quietly in a corner. She hadn't spoken a word since the attack. "What happens today?" asked Sunmi as they ate. "Will people come to talk to us?" Han nodded. "Yes. People will want to hear what you saw at the museum and what you know about the orphanage." "We didn't see anything," said Tae. "We were looking at old spaceships when our teacher got a call." She started crying and wouldn't tell us why. Then the police came. "The Federation people say our home was making weapons," said one of the twins, Lee Min. "That's a lie." Han studied the children. "What was special about the orphanage? Did you have visitors? Did Director Kim ever act strangely?" The children looked at each other. Finally, Yoon Bin spoke up. "About a month ago, Director Kim got a package. He seemed upset after opening it. He locked it in his office and made phone calls, late at night. He thought we didn't notice, but we did." "Did he tell you what was in it?" Yoon Bin shook his head. "No, but he started teaching us things after that." "What kind of things?" Han asked, now very interested. "How to notice if we were being followed. How to remember details about people. He said it was a game, but it didn't feel like one." Han's training told him this was important. Director Kim had been preparing the children for something. The package must have contained information that put them at risk. A knock at the door interrupted them. Han checked the security camera and saw a tall woman in a military uniform. He opened the door. "General O," he said with a small bow. "Thank you for coming." The general stepped inside. She was in her 60s with short gray hair and a straight posture. Her eyes quickly scanned the apartment and the children. "Are these the survivors?" she asked Han quietly. "Yes." "This is General O," Han told the children. "She was my commander, years ago." The children stood and bowed politely as Director Kim had taught them. "I need to speak with Han alone," the general said. "Please excuse us." Han led her to his bedroom and closed the door. General O immediately activated a small device that would prevent anyone from listening to their conversation. "The situation is worse than we thought," she said without preamble. "The Federation is blocking our investigation. They claim the Orphanage was developing biological weapons that could target specific alien DNA. "That's nonsense," Han said. "It was just children and teachers." "We know that. But Consul Rao is pushing this story, and many on the Federation Council believe him, or pretend to." The general's face hardened. "Our government is being pressured to accept their explanation and a small payment for damages." Han's fists clenched. "They murdered 56 children and 15 adults. Which is why I've been authorized to activate the Baba Yaga protocol." General O handed him a small data chip. "This contains everything we know so far. Your mission is to find the truth and bring those responsible to justice." "Official channels?" "None. As far as anyone knows, you've taken compassionate leave to care for orphaned children. Your old team is being contacted. They'll be available when needed." Han nodded. This was why he had been chosen. In his days with Unit 9, he had completed missions that officially never happened. "What about the children?" he asked. "Keep them safe. They may know something important without realizing it." General O looked toward the door. "And Han, be careful. Whoever ordered this attack has significant power. They won't hesitate to kill." Again. After the general left, Han found the children sitting quietly in the living room. Their eyes followed him, waiting. "What did the general want?" asked Yoon Bin. Han considered what to tell them. These children had lost everything. They deserve the truth. "She wants me to find out why the orphanage was attacked," he said simply. "The Federation is lying about what happened." "We want to help," said Sunmi immediately. The others nodded. Even little Baek Do-han shook his head. "It's too dangerous." "We already lost everything," said Tai. "What more can they take from us?" The room was silent for a moment. Then unexpectedly a small voice spoke. "They killed Director Kim." Everyone turned to look at Kang Ha-na. The 8-year-old girl who hadn't spoken since the attack now had tears running down her face. "He was going to tell people about the bad aliens. He showed me pictures of sick children." Han knelt in front of Hana. "What pictures, Hana? Can you tell me?" The girl nodded slowly. "I help in the office sometimes. Director Kim got files about missing children. They were taken to alien hospitals but never came back. He was very angry about it." Han looked at the other children, who seemed as surprised as he was by this information. "That's why they attacked," Han said, more to himself than to the children, not because of weapons, but because Director Kim discovered something about missing children. He stood up and went to a painting on the wall. Behind it was a hidden panel that opened to reveal a small room filled with equipment. Weapons, communications, devices, tactical gear. The children gasped. "What is all this?" asked Lee Jun, one of the twins. "Before I worked at the embassy, I had a different job," Han explained. "I was part of a team that solved problems in ways that couldn't be official." He turned to face the 7 children. Their young faces showed a mixture of fear, curiosity, and determination. "I'm going to find the people who destroyed your home," Han said. "I'm going to make them pay for what they did." "We want to help," Yoon Bin repeated, standing taller now. "Teach us how." Han studied them for a long moment. Using children this way went against everything he believed in. But these weren't ordinary children anymore. They were survivors who deserved justice. "The Federation has forgotten something important about humans," Han told them. "When you harm our children, we become monsters." He took a small metal case from the hidden room and opened it. Inside was an old-fashioned wooden doll, hand-carved in the shape of an old woman. "Do you know who Baba Yaga is?" he asked. The children shook their heads. "She's a witch from old stories. She could be kind to good children, but to those who harmed the innocent, she was a nightmare that could never be escaped." Han placed the doll on the table. "That's what we're going to become." For the first time since the attack, the children's eyes showed something new. Hope. 2 weeks had passed since the orphanage bombing. In that time, Earth's government had publicly accepted a formal apology from the Federation Council along with a payment for rebuilding the orphanage. The official story remained that dangerous. Research had been conducted there, though no evidence was ever shown to Earth scientists. People were angry, but told to move on. Peace with the Federation was too important to risk. But behind closed doors, in a secure room deep beneath Seoul, a different conversation was taking place. "The Baba Yaga protocol is now fully active," said General O to a small group of military and government officials. "All resources requested have been approved." On a large screen, images of Consul Rao appeared. He was tall and thin with pale, blue skin and 6 fingers on each hand. His species, the Vexari, were among the oldest members of the Federation. "Our intelligence suggests Consul Rao personally ordered the attack," continued General O. "He bypassed normal Federation procedures and used his personal security force to carry it out." "Why?" asked a woman in a dark suit. "What was so important about one orphanage?" General O nodded to a young officer who brought up new images. "These are medical records Director Kim received shortly before the attack. They detail a program where human children have been secretly taken for genetic experiments." The room grew very quiet. The Vexari have been using human genetic material to extend their lifespans. They've been doing this for years, hiding it from both us and the Federation Council. "And our response?" asked an older man at the end of the table. "Official channels are closed to us," said General O. "The Federation Council has accepted Rao's story, so we turn to unofficial methods. The Baba Yaga team is ready." Back at Han's apartment, training had begun in earnest. The living room furniture had been pushed aside to create a practice area. Han watched as the 7 children worked on the tasks he had given them. Yoon Bin and Choi Tae were studying Federation security protocols. The twins, Lee Jun and Lee Min, were learning how to move silently and create distractions. Park Sunmi was taking apart and rebuilding communication devices with surprising skill. Little Baek-do was practicing memory exercises, learning to recall details with perfect accuracy. And Kang Hana, the quiet girl who had finally spoken, sat cross-legged on the floor with her eyes closed, listening to recordings of different alien languages. "They learn quickly," said a voice behind Han. He turned to see Ko Jin, a member of his old Unit 9 team. Jin was a weapons specialist who now worked as a Federation technology consultant. His position gave him access to information few humans ever saw. Too quickly, Han replied. They shouldn't have to learn these things. Jin watched the children with a sad expression. When I was their age, I played games and worried about school. They're planning how to infiltrate Federation security systems. Han nodded. Did you bring what I asked for? Jin handed over a small data cube. Everything we have on Consul Rao. His schedule, his security detail, his private estate. Getting this wasn't easy. Thank you. Jin looked at the children again. Are you really going to involve them in this? They're already involved, Han said. And they might see things we miss. Children notice different details than adults do. After Jin left, Han gathered the children together. They sat in a circle on the floor as he connected the data cube to a holographic projector. This is Consul Rao, he said as a three-dimensional image of the blue-skinned alien appeared above them. He gave the order to destroy your home. The children stared at the image with intense eyes. Why? Asked Sunmi. Why did he want us dead? Han activated another file. Director Kim received these medical records. They show that Rao's species, the Vexari, have been taking human children for genetic experiments. They use something in human DNA to live longer. The missing children Hana mentioned, said Yunbin. Yes, Director Kim was going to expose this secret. Rao couldn't allow that. Tay leaned forward. So what do we do now? Han brought up a new image showing a massive building of crystal and metal. Next month, there will be a diplomatic gala at the Federation Embassy on Earth. Consul Rao will attend. This will be our chance to get more evidence about his operations. How? Asked Li Jun. I will go to the gala as a translator. While I'm inside, you seven will be my eyes and ears from a safe location nearby. The twins looked at each other with excitement. Like spies? Yes, Han said seriously. Like spies, but this is not a game. If we're caught, the Federation will claim we're terrorists. To his surprise, little Baek Do spoke up. They already killed everyone we love. We're not afraid anymore. The other children nodded in agreement. Han studied their young faces. In just 2 weeks they had changed so much. The trauma remained, but it was now mixed with purpose and determination. Then let's begin planning, he said. The night of the gala arrived with clear skies and a full moon. Han adjusted his formal translator uniform in front of a mirror. Behind him, the children were at their stations in what had once been his bedroom, but was now a command center. Each child wore a small earpiece connecting them to Han and to each other. Sunmi had modified Federation technology to create a secure communication system that should be undetectable. Communications check, said Yunbin, who had naturally fallen into the role of team leader. Clear, responded each child in turn. Han turned to face them. Remember the plan. I go in, find the target, extract the information, and get out. Your job is to monitor security and alert me to any problems. We've hacked into their camera system, said Tay proudly. We can see everything inside the embassy. And I can open or lock any door, added Sunmi. Han nodded. If anything goes wrong, your safety comes first. Shut everything down and use the escape route we practiced. As he prepared to leave, little Hana approached him. The once silent girl now spoke in a clear voice. Be careful, she said, handing him a small wooden charm. It was carved to look like the Baba Yaga doll, but smaller. I made it to protect you. Han slipped the charm into his pocket. Thank you, Hana. I'll be back soon. The Federation embassy glittered with lights as Han presented his credentials at the entrance. Security was tight, with both human and alien guards checking each guest. Translator Han Ji-won, he said to the guard. Purpose of attendance? Asked the tall insect-like guard. I'm assigned to the Earth ambassador for the evening. The guard checked a list, then nodded. Proceed. Inside, the grand hall was filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Han activated his earpiece with a subtle touch. I'm in, he whispered. We see you, came Yoon Bin's voice. The target is on the 3rd level north side. Han moved through the crowd, nodding politely to those he recognized. His translator badge gave him freedom to move between different groups. Alert, came Tae's voice suddenly. Security is turning away Earth science delegation. They're checking everyone's credentials again. Han paused. Reason? Unknown, but they seem nervous about something. This wasn't good. Han needed to move faster. He made his way to a service elevator and pressed his hand to the panel. Nothing happened. Sunmi, I need access to the 3rd level. Working on it, came her young voice, focused and calm. After a moment, the elevator panel lit up green. You have 30 seconds before the system resets. Han entered the elevator quickly. As it rose to the 3rd level, he prepared himself for what might come next. The doors opened to a quiet hallway. Unlike the celebration below, this area was nearly empty. Turn left, then 2nd door on the right, directed Yoon Bin. That's Rao's private office for the evening. Hana says she hears 2 voices inside. Han approached carefully. Hana's hearing was exceptional, and if she said there were 2 people, she was right. He pressed his ear to the door. The humans suspect nothing, came Rao's distinctive voice. They accepted our story about the orphanage. But the children who survived? Asked another voice. Being watched. They're just children, they know nothing. Han's hand tightened into a fist. If only Rao knew how wrong he was about those just children. He needed to get inside that room and access Rao's personal files. The truth about the experiments and the orphanage bombing would be there. Han, came Li Min's urgent voice in his ear. Someone's coming up the elevator. Federation security. It was time to introduce Consul Rao to Baba Yaga. Han pressed himself against the wall as the security team approached. His mind raced through options. He could not be caught here, outside Consul Rao's private office. Sunmi, he whispered. I need a distraction. Now. On it, came the girl's confident reply. Seconds later, alarms blared throughout the building. Emergency lights flashed red. Fire protocol activated, announced an automated voice. All guests please proceed to designated exit points. The security team hesitated, then turned and rushed back toward the elevator to help with evacuation. You have 3 minutes before they realize it's a false alarm, said Yoon Bin in Han's ear. Han quickly placed a small device on Rao's door. The lock clicked open. Inside, Consul Rao and another Vexari were gathering data pads, clearly disturbed by the alarm. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Rao when he saw Han. Han bowed respectfully, playing his role. Translator Han Ji-won, sir. Security sent me to escort you to safety. The second Vexari looked suspicious. Where is Rao's regular security detail? Helping with the evacuation, sir. The Earth ambassador specifically requested I assist the consul. Rao seemed to accept this. Very well, lead the way. This way, please, Han said, gesturing toward the door. As Rao moved forward, Han activated a tiny device in his palm. A flash of light burst in the room, temporarily blinding both Vexari. In that moment, Han slipped a data extractor onto Rao's personal pad. Children, start the download, he whispered as he steadied Rao, apologizing for the bright emergency lights. Downloading now, confirmed Tae. We need 30 seconds. Han guided the disoriented Vexari toward the stairs rather than the elevator, buying time. Download complete, said Tae finally. We have everything. Han felt a surge of triumph. Whatever secrets Rao was hiding, they now had access to them. 2 days later, the children gathered around Han as he examined the stolen data. Their small command center hummed with equipment as each child monitored their assigned area. What did we get? Asked Sunmi eagerly. Han's face was grim. More than we expected. Records of over 200 human children taken for experiments over the past 15 years. Medical files. Test results. Where are they now? Asked Yoon Bin. Han shook his head. Most died during the procedures. Their genetic material was harvested to create treatments that extend Vexari lifespans by decades. The children were silent, processing this horror. There's more, Han continued. Rao personally ordered the bombing after learning Director Kim had received copies of these files. He feared exposure would lead to the Vexari being expelled from the Federation. Can we take this to the authorities now? Asked Li Jun. No. The files are encrypted with Federation security codes. Using them would reveal our theft and mark us as criminals. Han looked at each child in turn. We need more evidence that can be used openly. So what do we do? Asked Tai. We become Baba Yaga, said Han simply. We hunt. Over the next 6 months, strange events began to plague those connected to the orphanage bombing. The first was discovered one morning when Dren Ko, the Federation weapons designer who created the energy weapons used on the orphanage, woke to find his luxury apartment transformed. The furniture had been rearranged to match the exact layout of the Daesang orphanage classrooms. Holographic images of each dead child appeared when he entered a room, their eyes following his movements. Security found no evidence of break-in, no fingerprints, no traces of entry. The building's advanced security system recorded nothing unusual. But, on every wall a single message appeared. Baba Yaga sees you. Drenko resigned his position the next day and left Earth on the first available transport. 3 weeks later, 3 Federation judges, who had dismissed evidence against Consul Rao, woke to find their own children temporarily missing from their beds. After 4 hours of panic, the children were returned safely to their Central Federation embassy. Each child carried the same message. They were luckier than ours. Federation security was doubled. New protocols were implemented. Fear spread among those who had been involved in covering up the orphanage incident. Then came the financial attack. One morning, Consul Rao discovered all his personal accounts had been drained overnight. The funds were distributed anonymously to orphanages across Earth. The transaction records showed the transfers originated from Rao's own private terminal, using his personal codes. How is this possible? Demanded General O when Han reported. Their success. They met in a quiet park, far from listening devices. Sunmi has a gift for systems, Han explained. She found a way into the Federation banking network that no one expected. And Hana can mimic Rao's voice perfectly now. Together, they bypassed all security. The general shook her head in amazement. Children did this? They're not just children anymore, Han said quietly. They've become something else, something focused. The Federation is in a panic, said General O. They don't understand how these attacks are happening or who is behind them. Many of Rao's allies are distancing themselves from him. Han nodded. Good. Isolation makes him vulnerable. What's your next move? We found something in the data. A hidden facility on Rao's ancestral estate on the Vexari homeworld. We believe more human children are being held there for experimentation. General O frowned. That's outside our reach. The Vexari homeworld is heavily protected. We have a plan, Han assured her. The children have been studying Vexari security systems for months. They've found weaknesses no one else has noticed. It's too dangerous, protested the general. We've already begun, Han said firmly. In 3 days, Consul Rao is hosting a gathering of his species elders at his estate, a ceremony to celebrate his long life. We will be there. How? Han smiled slightly. Baba Yaga goes where she wishes. Back at their base, which had moved from Han's apartment to a secure facility provided by General O, the children worked with focused intensity. Yoon Bin and Tai studied detailed maps of Rao's estate, planning entry points and escape routes. The twins practiced moving in the heavier gravity of the Vexari homeworld using a simulation chamber. Sunmi programmed tiny drones that could disable security systems without being detected. Hana listened to recordings of Vexari elder speech patterns, learning to mimic their formal language perfectly, and little Baekdo, now 6 years old, memorized the faces of each missing child they hoped to rescue. Han watched them with a mixture of pride and sadness. These children had been forced to grow up too quickly, transformed by loss and purpose into something both more and less than children should be. Are we ready? Asked Yoon Bin, looking up from his work. Han nodded. The transport leaves tomorrow. Small, unmarked, with Federation codes provided by our allies. We'll reach the Vexari homeworld a day before the ceremony. And then? Asked Sunmi. Then we show Consul Rao who Baba Yaga really is, said Han. Not just a nightmare that strikes from shadows, but justice that cannot be escaped. The children looked at each other, their young faces set with determination. They had lost everything at the Daesang Orphanage. But they had found something else, a purpose larger than themselves, and a family forged in shared pain and resolve. They were the children of Baba Yaga now, and they were going hunting. The Vexari homeworld glowed blue-green against the black of space. From the small transport ship, it looked peaceful and beautiful. No one would guess that it held dark secrets beneath its shining cities. Han stood with the 7 children in the ship's main cabin. They wore simple gray clothes that would help them blend in with service workers at Consul Rao's estate. Remember your training, Han told them. Stay in your assigned groups, follow the plan exactly. The children nodded seriously. After 6 months of preparation, they moved with the confidence of professionals, not children. Sunmi and Tai, you'll handle the security systems, Han continued. Twins, you're responsible for creating distractions if needed. Yun Bin will coordinate from our base point. Ha-Na and Baek Du will stay with me. What if we find the children? Asked Sunmi. The ones being used for experiments? Their rescue is our priority, Han said firmly. But we must also expose the truth to everyone. Both missions are important. Their ship landed at a small private dock far from the main spaceport. Federation identification codes, carefully stolen and modified, kept them from being questioned. A waiting ground vehicle, also arranged through their network of allies, transported them toward Rao's ancestral estate. The massive building rose from the landscape like a twisted crystal formation. Lights glowed from hundreds of windows as Vexari, elders and officials arrived for the ceremony. The security barrier begins 200 meters ahead, warned Tae, checking a small device. Sunmi, are you ready? The 12-year-old girl nodded and activated a series of commands on her pad. Security lock bypassed. We have exactly 6 minutes before the system resets. The vehicle slipped through the barrier without triggering alarms. Han guided it to a service entrance at the rear of the estate, where workers were busy bringing in supplies for the ceremony. Now we separate, Han said. Yun Bin, establish the command post. Sunmi and Tai, find the central security hub. Twins, locate the basement level where the files indicate the laboratory is. Ha-Na, Baek-Do, and I will identify and track Rao. The children moved with purpose, each heading to their assigned position. No one seeing them would imagine they were the survivors of a terrible attack, now executing a complex infiltration plan. Han led Ha-Na and Baek-Do through busy hallways. Service workers barely glanced at them, assuming they belonged. Ha-Na wore a small device in her ear, listening for Rao's distinctive voice among the many conversations. That way, she whispered, pointing down a grand corridor. He's greeting guests in the main hall. They found a viewing position behind a decorative screen. The massive hall glittered with light reflected from crystal walls. Dozens of Vexari elders in formal attire mingled, while Consul Rao stood at the center, accepting their praise. He looks happy, said Baek-Do quietly. After killing everyone at our home, he's celebrating. Han put a hand on the small boy's shoulder. Not for long. His communicator vibrated. We found it, came Li Jun's voice. The lab is real. There are 16 human children here. Some look very sick. Han's jaw tightened. Secure the area. Prepare them for evacuation. Han, came Yun Bin's urgent voice next. Sunmi has accessed their central system. We're ready. Begin the countdown, Han ordered. Execute in 5 minutes. He turned to Ha-Na and Baek-Do. It's time. Are you ready? The children nodded, their young faces showing no fear, only determination. Han led them toward a service door that would take them behind the main stage area, where Rao would soon address his guests. As they moved, Sunmi's voice came through their communicators. All systems under our control. Communications, security, everything. Good, said Han. When I give the signal, broadcast to every Federation world simultaneously. No one will be able to stop the transmission. They reached their position just as Consul Rao approached the stage. The blue-skinned alien raised his hands for silence, his six-fingered hands glittering with jewels. Honored elders, Rao began, we gather today to celebrate another century of prosperity for our people. Thanks to our advanced medical treatments, our lifespans continue to extend beyond what our ancestors could imagine. Han nodded to Hana. The small girl activated a device on her wrist. Throughout the hall, the light suddenly dimmed. The crystal walls that had reflected light now became projection surfaces. On every wall appeared images of the Daesang orphanage before the attack. Children playing, teachers smiling, Director Kim watching over them all. Rao stopped speaking. Confusion on his face, then the images changed to show the attack. The building exploding. The crater where dozens of children had died. A child's voice filled the hall. Baek Do had stepped forward, his small form illuminated by a single light. My name is Baek Do. I am 6 years old. I lived at the Daesang orphanage until Consul Rao ordered it destroyed. Gasps echoed through the hall. The Vexari elders looked around in confusion and alarm. This is outrageous, Rao shouted. Security, remove this human child immediately. But no security came. Instead, more. Children stepped forward. The twins. Sun Mi, Tai, Yoon Bin, Hana, 7 children standing together. We are the survivors, said Yoon Bin, and we have come for justice. On every wall now appeared the medical files stolen from Rao's personal datapad, records of human children taken for experiments, evidence of the genetic harvesting program, proof that Rao had ordered the orphanage destroyed to hide his crimes. This is a trick, Rao insisted, backing away from the children. These files are forgeries. No, said Han, stepping forward finally. They are the truth, and not just these files. He activated his own communicator. Show them. New images appeared. Live video from the laboratory beneath the estate where Min was helping weak human children from locked rooms. 16 more children, Consul Rao, Han said, his voice carrying throughout the hall. 16 more victims of your experiments, but these ones will live. The Vexari elders turned to Rao, their confusion turning to anger. Is this true? Demanded one elder, her voice shaking. Have you violated Federation law for your own benefit? You don't understand, Rao began. These treatments benefit all Vexari. Our extended lifespans, built on the deaths of children, interrupted Han. Built on murder. The great doors of the hall burst open. Federation peacekeepers rushed in, their weapons ready. But they did not point those weapons at Han or the children. Instead, they surrounded Consul Rao. By order of the Federation Council, announced their leader, Consul Rao is remanded to custody pending investigation of crimes against humanity. Han looked at the 7 children beside him. Their faces showed not joy but quiet satisfaction. This was not a victory celebration. It was justice. Long overdue. As the peacekeepers took Rao away, Han approached him. The once powerful consul now looked small and afraid. You should have remembered Earth's history, Han told him quietly. Humans have one rule above all others. We protect our children. And when we fail, we avenge them. 1 year later, a new building stood where the Daesang orphanage had once been. Not another orphanage, but a school for diplomacy and ethical interspecies relations. Children from across Earth and friendly Federation worlds studied there, learning from each other. In the main courtyard stood a memorial. Not a sad place, but one of hope. The names of those lost were written in a circle around a simple statue, of Director Kim watching over children from many worlds playing together. As for Han and the 7 survivors, stories varied. Some said they now worked officially for Earth's security forces. Others claimed they had become a secret team, operating throughout the galaxy to protect vulnerable children of all species. But among those who had reason to harm children, a whispered warning spread. Be careful who you hurt. Baba Yaga walks among the stars now, and she never forgets.